Hi, guys. Hi. So, my name is Barbara Ondrisek, and today I'm going to give a talk about my experience developing cross-platform chatbots. And I'm the last talk between you and the next beer, so I hope you don't hate me too much about it, but maybe you like the topic. So I created one of the very first chatbots on Facebook, and when definitely the face, I think I have a chat platform online still. I should turn it off, maybe a good idea. So, all right. So I created one of the first chatbots the very first chatbot in Austria, Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, and got the first chatbot on Facebook Messenger and Skype. About me, about my background, I made my PhD at the University of Technology in Vienna, and I've been working as a consultant and freelancer for more than 15 years for different, mostly big companies. Lately, I also worked as a backend developer on web projects. About my background, is I'm a Java developer. I love it, and I was working for, typically on backend projects, but I like to be also full stack. So I typically also changed in the project to different areas of it. So I like also to become a full stack developer. I also have a disposedness to mobile development. But I also like to play around with new technology. And after Facebook announced after the F8 conference in April last year that they opened their framework to bots, I was eager to play around with the new technology. So what are chatbots? Today I was also having talks or listening to talks about chatbots. Who already used the chatbot before? Oh, that's nice. Who used Siri before? The Apple? Not many? Okay. Alexa, Google Home, something like that? Okay, good. The Oxford Dictionary says about bots that they are autonomous programs on a network which interacts with a system or users. A chatbot, therefore, is a service that enables you to interact with a service or a company through a conversational interface through natural language. So it's an interactive program that enables you, it's an interactive program embedded in another program, the messenger apps. And bots are also often referred as virtual assistants or conversational user interface, conversational UI, or I recently also heard conversation as a service, like service as a service. Why chatbots? The idea and the opportunity of chatbots is that there is not a huge barrier to use it in contrast to apps. Apps have to be installed separately. Like each app, you have to bring your users to the app. So discovery is a topic. And then you need a phone with an app store on it. Then you have to remember your password for the app store. That's always also a barrier. And then in order to download an app, you have to have some free space on your phone. And then you have to be connected to download the app, to use it, and so on. Just to mention a few obstacles getting your app delivered to the users. In contrast to that, 1 billion users on Facebook Messenger platform and 300 million monthly active users on Skype are there, and potentially could be available in your chatbot. So I can reach with a chatbot suddenly all of them right now on the platform of your choice. Chatbots are not a super huge new thing. Historically speaking, the very first chatbot was Eliza. It was developed in the MIT project, in the AI Labs project of Josef Weizenbaum in the mid of 1960s. This bot, Eliza, simulated a Rogerian psychiatrist, and Weizenbaum wanted to find out how to use chatbots, how to use this chatbot, how to use natural language processing and natural language in computer-human interactions. in computer-human interfaces. So ELIZA was programmed with a number of canned phrases containing therapeutical language. And so when someone said, "Oh, last night I had a dream about my father," ELIZA responded, "Oh, tell me more about your father." So it was super simple, but it kept the people talking to the chatbot. Also, the very first chatbots were designed in that manner, like a question, a question and answer system. And there were also text-based computer games like Zork. Who can remember Zork? Okay, I'm the oldest person in the room. Okay, second oldest. So why now the fuss? Why now the hysterical trend? This guy, Mr. Zuckerberg, announced on the F8 conference of Facebook that they opened their interface. But 2 weeks before, on the Microsoft conference, on the Build conference, mid of March 2016, they also announced that that Skype is going to support bots recently. But I don't know, no one really cared. And but when Facebook announced 2 weeks later that they opened their API for messenger bots, the craze started. And also the first bots got approved, and Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, was one of the first bots to get approved on the platform. And also only a few days later, after the F8 conference last year, one of the Facebook Messenger bots, a weather bot called Poncho, raised 2 million of funding. What happened after this? Also, Google presented on the Google I/O conference. It was mid of May. Also, their innovative chat platform Elo. I don't have the logo on the slide, but they also announced a little bit later, in mid of July, on their new cloud natural language API for natural language processing, for NLP, and machine learning frameworks also. IBM also has IBM Watson. Vita AI is also a natural language processing tool that was bought by Facebook. API AI was a little bit later than bought by Google, so all the big players are now in the game. But why? Why are we doing this? 1 minute or 3 minutes spent online are spent in mobile apps. But we see that the number of app usage is dropping, but not so for messenger apps. The current trend, the app trend, is go away from, or to, and then again away from social media to messengers. And this graph is already outdated. This one shows you that the main 4 messenger apps already had here this peak 1.5 years ago, or 2 years ago, that they have more monthly active users than all the other social networking apps like Facebook Messenger, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram combined. What we also see that only 3 that people don't download new apps anymore, and you see that from the number of apps downloaded per month, it's 65%. They download no app at all, and the other ones is like 3%, maybe three apps in total. So, but what we see is that, in contrast to that, the people use messenger apps, and they also spend their time in messenger apps. In some countries, there are some peaks, like in Taiwan, Brazil, and Malaysia. They almost spend, in average, 1 hour per day in the app, in messenger apps. That brings me to which platforms support chatbots. Facebook Messenger announced already half a year ago that they have 1 billion unique users per month. Then WeChat has also the same numbers, but it's not on the slide because WeChat does not support chatbots. We see also WhatsApp. WeChat is the platform in China, and they also have more than 800 million unique users per month. The other platforms are also there, like Skype, Viber. Viber is super popular in Eastern countries, and we have also Kik, Line, and all the others. And also recently, Cisco Spark announced that they are supporting chatbots, and Microsoft Teams started also as a collaboration tool, as the Slack killer. So We will see. Yeah, not to mention SMS itself. Platforms per regions. Every platform of the messenger apps is super popular in a different region. We see here that Viber, as I already told you, is more in the eastern countries, in contrast to Kik. For instance, Kik is a platform that is super popular among teenagers in the United States. That's a special phenomenon there. Also, we have here the WhatsApp, the WeChat app, and also Line is in Asian countries super popular. I just want to tell you a little bit more about WeChat and why it's so interesting for us. Because WeChat is kind of the future, where it could go. WeChat is as I told you, 800 million unique users per month is really a lot, and it's far more embedded in the daily routine of the user. So with WeChat, you have included your bank cards. You can order a taxi. Okay, you can do that also on Facebook Messenger. But you can do something like make a doctor's appointment. What is behind there? Or you can also pay the rent for your flat to your landlord, and something like that. And WeChat is, in that sense, very important because all the other messenger platforms want to become the WeChat of the Western world. So a little bit a race started. Mica, however, Facebook announced to open their platform, so I was eager to try the API, and I created Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot. It's a chatbot that helps you discover the best places worldwide. And I want to show you how Mica works, hopefully. No. But I tried this one. Okay. I tried not to make a live demo and wanted to show you some videos. So you can chat with the cat, and she helps you discover the best places near you. Technically speaking, I use an interface for that. That it's a backend service, and I connect to other APIs, to Foursquare, Yelp, and TripAdvisor, and get the best places close by. And why stay on only one platform? I started creating it from Facebook Messenger. Then I came to other platforms like Skype, Kik, Line app, and Telegram, and also all the other a little bit more exotic platforms like Viber and WeChat. For us, is WeChat still a little bit new in this topic. But there are also other chatbots. So next to Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, we have here, as an example, the Austrian Airlines bot. The Austrian Airlines bot is a bot where you can order or look up flights. So it's a flight booking bot. We have also Svelli as one of the most popular bots on Facebook Messenger, and Svelli helps you with decisions. So you can post 2 pictures, and then the chatbot says, then the people decide what is better. Like I post a picture of this shirt and another shirt, and then other people can decide on what to wear. Then we have, as an example, Mr. Hockeyfy. It's an Austrian project, and it's a job search machine, a job search bot. We have also other examples, like Recordbird is a music recommendation bot. We have Sophie as an e-commerce example, and Sophie helps you to find the best things to wear. And also Zoom bot is here. It's a real estate search engine. And also an interesting example is Yodel. Also an Austrian startup, and Yodel is a Slack implementation, not a chatbot in that sense, but it helps you to connect to a telephone interface to your customer services. I also have a couple of examples for non-commercial bots. One is the meme generator bot, where you can simply text a little bit, then find your meme to it and change the text of it. Tony is a bot for soccer games. So when the World Championship was going on, you could text to it. Currently, there is not, as far as I know, no current championship going on. So, but you can edit and see it later. Nela is a bot for language training, like how do you say, like a vocabulary trainer. And Artemis is a bot that shows you when you see a picture of something, of an artist, and you can just make a photo of it, and then the bot tells you what's on there. Like it could be something like, here I have an example, the Great Wave of Kanagawa, or if it is a Picasso or not, something like that. So not to comment on this example, so not every one of these chatbots really use machine learning or natural language processing, and I personally also think it is not necessary to make a bot complete. But also in this example, Artemis uses, also Mica uses it, a deep learning algorithm to decide on what's in the picture, something like this. About the implementation details, to implement a bot for Facebook Messenger or Skype, you simply have to implement a webhook. And this webhook could be written in whatever language you want. Later, in a couple of slides, I also have some frameworks you can use. Personally, for Mica the Hipster Cat Bot, I chose Java because I like Java. Who is a Java developer? Yeah, finally. Usually when I'm on a conference, then, I don't know, maybe 2 people show up and feel like when you say Java, it feels like telling people you program in Fortran or something like that. So, university, I like it. So I like Java, but I mean, you can program it in whatever language you want. You can program it in Node.js or in Python or in Ruby on Rails or so on. So in Java, you have to write the DTOs, or you take an external library that has the DTOs already in it. Some platforms offer something like that, and then you handle the REST JSON objects that come in. So most of the platforms, like Facebook Messenger, Skype, and so on, they have a REST interface, and they just publish the request that comes in, and they forward it to you. And then, with the forwarded request, you can answer to the same request or send in a different request. Again, something back. For the architecture, the backend is hosted on. So I programmed it in Java with Spring, and it runs in a work container in a Tomcat, and we host it currently on Amazon EC2, but I mean you can host it wherever you like, and we use a simple MySQL database to store also the data. Because Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, remembers the last city you have been to, and. Yeah, and besides, like the technical implementation, I also developed the character, natural language processing, the learnings of it, and the personality. About the architecture, I hope you see it in the back seat rows. The core element of a chatbot is the backend system. The backend system is the most important part. And since it is a backend system that is consuming a webhook, you can program it in and host it wherever you like. So it's super transparent. And the user connects to your chatbots, to your chatbot backend through all these different channels. This could be Facebook Messenger, Skype, Telegram, Kik, maybe some other things like maybe email. It could also be embedded in a web page, or directly we have a customer where we embed it in the app itself, because they have a native app and they want to have the chat text interface directly in the app. Then the chatbot backend can also communicate with different other external APIs. Yeah, because why not? Because we can. So it could be an NLP framework for speech analysis, a speech-to-text, or a text-to-speech translation, image recognition system, so you can also pimp it a little bit with deep learning stuff. Then you can totally connect to a customer database. For Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, it's Foursquare, Yelp, and TripAdvisor, and some other customer APIs, and then they do some backend searches. So we, for Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, we don't store any venue data. We retrieve it simply from a different framework. What I totally would suggest to store the communications in a database or track it with an external tool. Now on the market there are many different tracking tools such as Chatbot and so on, and you can also simply track it with Google Analytics or so. And what we programmed also for Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, is a backend system, like a user interface for the backend, like a back office, where an admin user can also scroll through the latest texts the cat was writing with the user, that you can also like interact directly with the user if the cat is not responding to it. Some words on the processing pipeline itself. So you get from the webhook, you get an user input that is typically text. Could be something like an audio file. Then we make a speech-to-text translation. Could also be an image or so, and we do also image recognition. Or some people or some users like to send emojis, for instance. So there are various types of user input. So it comes in. Then you strip the text you don't need, because you have also some things you don't want to process yourself because it's not necessary or not important for the use case. Then you enhance and reach the user input, go into a type analysis. Is that a request for hotel booking? Is it a request for clothes shopping? Is it a request for the weather? Something like that. And then you start with the dialogue management. Typically, for chatbots, that they sound a little bit more natural, you have to use randomizers. So you don't respond all the time when you check this is use case A, you don't respond all the time with the same phrases. So you use a randomizer in between and have a list of, I don't know, five sentences or maybe 10 sentences. You randomize through it and then you send just a random message back. And then you send the answer back. About chatbot development itself, what you should think about when you develop a chatbot is, first of all, it's most important to think about, is it rule-based or is there also some machine learning involved? There are many examples out there where you don't need machine learning at all, because the chatbots are already very good. And they are rule-based means that you just look for strings in the text, like for key phrases. Something like you look for restaurants or hungry, something like that. Then you know the intent of the message is that you want that the person wants to get a restaurant recommendation. Or when the person sends coffee, then they want a coffee shop recommendation, something like that. So machine learning is nice, but you need a lot of training data that it becomes really good. So typically, chatbots are also fine when they don't use extensive machine learning. Then you can distinguish when you plan a chatbot, has it a character or is it a service? Typically, a character would make more sense. It is something like a virtual personality you create. With Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, we created a cat. So she's nice, she's cute, she's also meowing, or she's purring, and users also tend to exchange meows simply with the cat. And there are also good examples for service bots. For instance, the Austrian Airlines bot, or KLM, has also a flight service bot. They don't have a personality itself, but works also very nicely. Then you should decide, is it specific or is it more general? And general means in the terms of a virtual assistant or something like Siri or Alexa. And typically, I would say, when you're not Google, don't do it, because you're supposed to fail. Because general virtual assistants are very hard to make. Because when you design the chatbot that you can ask it, her, or him everything, then the people also ask everything. They ask something like, why is the sky blue? Or do you love me? Or I don't know what. Or the people want to have sex with the bot, what's kind of irritating. Or they, I don't know, say also they have very strong emotional reactions. And the fastest growing dictionary we have is the one with the rude words, because especially teenagers like to use foul language and they start to swear. And you have to also respond to that properly. Then you should decide on, is it only speech, or do you also want to have, is it text, or do you also want to have speech? We heard today, or I heard today, a talk about Cisco Spark, that they have a voice input-output system. Sounds super promising, I hope it is. Then you can also decide with chatbot development, is it a standalone developed chatbot, or is it capable of group communication? Then you have to distinguish, are you responding to every single group request, or are you responding only when you're directly addressed with an reply? And then you should decide on the platform. So when you decide to develop a chatbot, choose the platform depending on where the bot itself is. Something like when you're planning to target Northern American teenagers, totally go for Kik. When you plan to target Japanese people, totally go for the Line app. And I think this is also very interesting for you. We have some useful tools, because you don't have to start from scratch. I mean, you can start from scratch when you really want, but I would not suggest it, because there are many really good tools now out there. For instance, we have also an open source framework here, that's Eddy, and we also have the main developer here from Eddy, Gregor. So it's a Java project, Java open source project. It's on GitHub. We already implemented it with a Docker container. So when you have any questions to this one, just ask Gregor for it, because we are still looking for participants. But there are many other frameworks. Botkit is super popular. It's a Node.js framework, also multi-channel, and it's from Howdy. These are people from Texas. And Microsoft also has a bot framework, so also a multi-channel framework, so it's also easy to use when you start a chatbot. Because then you implement it once for these multi-channel frameworks, and then you can publish the chatbots on these other different channels. So it's easier. We have also a lot of different natural language processing tools. As I already said, VitaI was bought by Facebook, API was bought by Google. In the middle is IBM Watson, so they can fight over it if they want. Also, Amazon published a natural language processing tool for Alexa, that you can also implement some bots on the Alexa platform. So they published an SDK for it also. For prototyping, when you simply start, you want to create a chatbot on Facebook Messenger, for instance, really quickly, then go for something like these prototyping tools like ChatFuel, for instance, or Motion AI. Oh, I don't have Motion AI on the screen. And also for analytics, like for specialized analytics for chatbots, there are also special analytics tools. If you don't like Google Analytics, for instance. And I still have enough time, I see. I have a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to show you also what to take care about the messenger platforms. Because every platform has a different set of features that they enable. For instance, what's very interesting is this carousel list. You can horizontally scroll through a list only on Facebook Messenger and Skype, and I don't know why the other platforms are not supporting it yet, but it's a super interesting, rich rich format, rich media format. Especially when you think of e-commerce bots that you get when you look up, there is an eBay bot, for instance, that you can look up something like, I want to get shoes, and then you get a scrollable, horizontally scrollable list of the shoes with the pictures. And this is only supported by Facebook Messenger and Skype, but I bet the other ones are working on it too. Then also, with some platforms, send directly messages to the users. For all of the platforms, it's that way that you cannot spam users. You have to have at least one interaction before with the user. So you cannot just start texting with some random users before. So you have to have the first initiation before. Then we have also some support, I don't know, vanity URLs. I don't know why Skype is not using it, because it's also good for bot discovery. Because Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, has the handle Hipster Cat Bot everywhere. So on Facebook Messenger, it's simply, okay, I don't know, I don't have something to write, otherwise I would just write it down. It's something like m.me/hipstercatbot. And on Kik, it's like kik.com/hipstercatbot. On Skype, you have to click on the URL. Some support QR codes also, which is very interesting, because I thought QR codes are dead. But they have a revival now with messenger apps. And there are also some other distinguishes between the messenger platforms. Some have a REST API. WeChat, for instance, has some weird XML API. Some support, Slack, for instance, supports sockets. They support also another bunch of different other stuff, and some have also Maven libraries. If you're in the Java group, typically you use Maven as a dependency management system. About the key learnings, my key learnings running and maintaining Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, are: be positive, be funny, be unique, create a unique personality people want to chat with. Conversation can also bring a connection to the people and joy also. So laughter is one of the most fundamental mechanisms for people to make them feel comfortable. So try to engage the people, and fun is always good to connect with people. For instance, when Mica something is not understanding because the people write something completely off topic, then she responds with a funny cat picture or a funny cat GIF. And that brings me to another thing: respond to all types of input. Users tend to send emojis, stickers, sometimes images or audio files. And I always think, like, what kind of audio files are they sending me? But I don't want to listen to it, so it's kind of weird. Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, also gives a lot of different types, like GIFs also, or audio files, and the audio file is a cat purr, like the cat purrs when you pet her, and learn also and adapt accordingly to what the users are writing, because typically you decide to create a chatbot for one use case, and then you figure out that the people are writing something completely different. So try to adapt on this one. Use analytics tools, use in addition to tracking tools maybe. So we use also, in addition to Google Analytics, also our self-built analytics tool. And respond to root behavior. With Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, we have a lot of root behavior. And when someone starts to swear, the cat says something like, "Oh, that was rude." So could be nice. Then this is the last slide. There are no common standards yet, so respond at least to generic things like, "Hi, how are you? Help." Add Easter eggs, because users love Easter eggs. And they are additionally entertaining to it. Also, never pretend to be human. People get irritated easily when they don't know who they are exactly talking to. Is it a service? Is it a bot? Is it really a person? Think also when you have something like human handover, when you have a service bot and then a call center agent starts to type. And also define a clear aim. When you're Google, Alexa, or Apple, you can totally release a chatbot that does everything. When you're not, stop it, don't like it. Use a clear use and create a character. And be careful how often and when and how you notify users. Retention and discovery for chatbots is still a little hard topic. And so be careful not to spam your precious users, because they get annoyed very easily. After Mica, the Hipster Cat Bot, we started the Chatbots agency, and we design also virtual assistants and chatbots in that way. So thank you for listening. Any questions? Oh.